Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David, and in this video I'm going to show you the second edition of Nuns on the Run. And this is a multi-language release by Dutch publisher 999 Games. In this game, 1 or 2 players gonna play the nuns, and they're gonna run around the abbey trying to catch the novices who escaped from their rooms. The novices are trying to get to the key they need to open the location where they want to get something and then safely return to their rooms. And so it's hide and seek and tag in the abbey. Please let me show you how it's played. When playing with 2 up to 7 players, 1 player will control both nuns. Only when playing with 8 players, 2 players that each control 1 nun. Starting with the novices, each player will randomly get 1 of the novice tokens and you place them in the matching corresponding room. Then you will get the movement cards of that colored novice, and all players will have the same 4 cards, only different color. Each novice, not the nuns, only the novices, will get 1 notepad. Here they're gonna write down where they are moving to, if they are standing still, sneaking, walking or running, if they get to their key and their secret wish, and maybe, hopefully not, but if they get caught, you mark off a space over here. Then all novices will get this player screen, so you can hide your notepad. And on the inside of this screen there's also a map of the abbey, so you don't have to look at the board, and so the nuns cannot see where you're looking at the moment. You can simply look over here to see where your movement will take you. Keep in mind there's a small error on the board, also on this screen. I don't know if it's there on purpose or that they missed it, but there are 2 number 94s. But it should be 92, 93, 94, 95. So maybe you want to put a marker over here, place a sticker that says 93. And finally, all novices will get 1 of these cards at random. This says where you want to go to. So let's take the one with the pack of cards. In this case, this player has to go to blue key number 7 to unlock the door that gives him access to the deck of cards. And that would be in room 109. So you're going to look at the board. The blue key number 7 is over here. So this player, say I'm the red player, has first get to this location to pick up the key. And then I have to get to room 109, that is over here. And you see there are 2 blue locks on those doors. So without the key you cannot enter. Although it's a blue key, once you've picked up a key, you can go through all doors that have locks on them. So you can even go through the green locks or the yellow locks. Doesn't matter, 1 key fits them all. But you have to get the key first before you can get to your location to pick up the thing that you really want. And then you have to make it back to your room. And hopefully you will do so before other players or the nun have won the game already. So this one you keep secret behind your screen, as well as your notepad. The nuns don't use the notepad, they are always visible on the board, and they will start in this room at number 26. And they will take a route, and it needs to be a route that starts at the space that they're at. So starting at number 26, this will be the patrol they will be moving around on the board. So maybe for the white nun we take card number 26 till 84, and for the other one we take number 26 up to 147, and you can see on the cards the route that those nuns are going to walk. And you can also see on the board, because these cards are played in front of the nun player or the nuns players, so all novices can see that the white nun is gonna follow the blue line on the board till it reaches number 84, and the small nun is gonna follow the red line until it reaches 147. The nuns always follow this route unless they see, saw or hear a novice. Then they can go off their route and try to catch the novice. So each round has 3 phases, and there are handy cards, quick reference how the round goes and what the movement actions of both players are, the novices and the nuns. Oh, and I forget, also the nuns will get some movement cards, but they only have 2 cards to choose from. And they have to choose the card they played during the movement. They can choose during the movement if they want to go for a walk or for a run. By the way, of course, if you're wondering what's the difference between the original version. In the original version, I know the nuns had to have line of sight to a specific novice in order to see him or her. In this case, if a nun is in a room, it can see everything and everyone in that room who's not in either another room or is standing behind a wall, a curtain or a door. We have curtains over here. So also it doesn't matter anymore if you're behind a nun or in front of the nun, they always see everybody and everything in the area they are in. So that's the main difference streamlined in this second edition. And each round the novices go first. They choose one card they're gonna use to move, and they can stand still, then they're not moving at all, and they get a bonus on the die roll. They can sneak using only 1 or 2 steps, and they have a smaller bonus but still a bonus on the roll. They can simply walk, moving 3 or 4 spots and have a small bonus on the die roll, or they can choose to run. In that case they can move up to 5 spaces, but they will get a +1 penalty on the die roll. And the die roll is for determining if maybe one of the nuns can hear you, the distance between you and the nuns. So each player will secretly choose one card, and of course we want to start as soon as possible, so I'm gonna take this one and gonna run for it. Only in the first round the novices will use the card they've played twice. And then from the second round they only use it once, but only in the first round all novices get a double move with the same card in order to give them a small head start. And then you're gonna check, where will this card take me? Me, the red player, wants to go to this location, so I think I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's one movement, but I can use the card again. So if I go 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I can get to my key I need in my first turn. So that's a really nice start. Of course, I'm not gonna move my token on the board, or I'm gonna point it out. I do this in secret, and therefore you can also just watch on your player screen where you would end up. And then you're gonna write down the number that you're finishing. So in this case I would end up in space number 67. So on my notepad I will write down number 67, and I use the run action. And then you wait till all players are ready, because all novices will do this at the same time. And once all novices are ready, starting with the first player to the left of the nuns, they will reveal the card they've played. So the nuns can see how many possible movements the novices did. In this case it's kind of hard because it's 1 up to 5 spaces and we're doing a double move. But in future rounds for sure it will help the nuns to decide how far a novice might have gone. So still I'm not revealing where I am. Basically I'm never revealing where I am until I'm spotted or heard by one of the nuns. And after revealing your card you have to roll the die to see if the novices hear you. Therefore you first roll the die. Ooh, in this case 6, and since I have run I get a +1 penalty, so it's even 7. You want this to be as low as possible, but because I've run I make noise, so now it's +1, 7. And then you're gonna check if in this case in 7 spaces away there are nuns. Should there be no nun in the number you've rolled plus additional bonus or penalties, then you do nothing. But in this case I'm afraid the nuns have heard me, because I'm here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They both have heard me. In case they hear you, you still do not reveal where you are, but you're placing one of these markers. They're double-sided, and the yellow one is for hearing a novice. And you place that next to the novices. So not next to yourself, but to the novices, in the direction where the noise is coming from. And also has to be the direction that has the shortest path to the noise maker. So in this case I would place it over here. So the nuns know we heard somebody, and the fastest way to get to that person is by going that direction. But once they're here, of course they don't know if they have to go to the left or the right, so I'm still kinda safe. And then all other novices will also move, roll the die and see if they are within hearing distance of the nuns. Maybe the green player is over here and is also heard by the nuns. Then you can travel to the nuns in 2 different routes, but they are the same amount of spaces away. So the green player can choose on which side of the nuns that player wants to place the noise marker. So it could place it over here or also over here. That would give some benefits maybe when you're standing over here in the corner and the nun is over here. If now the nun hurts you, you might want to place the marker over here. Over here. And then hopefully the nun will go either this direction or this direction, because if you place it over here and the nun goes into this direction, then they immediately see you once they've entered this area. So let's say this player is over here. Nobody knows, of course, but the nuns know there are noises around them. So some novices have escaped their room. In their rooms, the novices are safe and they cannot be caught by the nuns, because that's where they are supposed to be. So novices, note your location where you're ending your movement on your notepad, refill your movement card, and roll the dice for making noise one by one. And then we get to the nuns. Let's say we start with the white nun. If there are no tokens on the board, the novice has to follow the route they have for their patrol. So the white nun has to go from here to here. But since they have heard something, there is a marker on the board. They can choose to leave their path and go somewhere else. So in this case, this nun might go 1. And nuns, by the way, can go either 3 or 4 steps and then make a roll to see if they can hear a nun. Or they can move 5 or 6 spaces, but then they do not get their bonus roll to see if they hear another novice. But the nun can first move and then after the 3 or 4 steps decide if they want to stop and make it a normal move, or if they want to continue moving 5 or 6 spaces and thus making a run for it. There was noise over here, so the nun maybe is going over here, 2, 3, and then decides to enter here. If at any moment, if the nun is over here or now in this room, and there are novices in this room, they have to reveal themselves by putting the token into the room. So say the blue novice is in this room, then they have to place their token here, and now they are spotted. Remember, I am here, but I cannot be seen because I am behind a door and behind walls. So now the nun can take one more step, and then has taken 6 steps and cannot roll if the nun has heard anything. Then it's this nun. This nun basically has to go using the blue line from 26 going to 84. But since there's noise, they can choose to move another route, but they're thinking, okay, well, there's also noise coming from here. I'm going this way. So 1, and now when they step into this corridor, if there is a novice in this corridor, it has to reveal himself. But say it's not, then it's 2. Again, is there any novice in this corridor? No. Then it's 3, 4, and the nun decides to stop. Because the nun has done a normal walk, it gets to roll the die. First we remove the tokens already in play. This nun cannot roll the die because it has run, but this nun took a normal walk, so it can roll the die. And it can hear any novice that is within 3 spaces. And we're ignoring the starting rooms, so 1, 2, 3. So each novice should now check if they are within 3 spaces of this nun. If so, they have to move a noise token and then somewhere next to the nun in the shortest directions towards them. Once all novices and nuns have moved and maybe rolled the dice, we go to the next round. Let me tell you how to win the game for the novices. The novices can only win by getting to the key they need. So I'm already at my key, but now I need to get to the item I want in that room, and then I have to get back to my room. If I do so before the 15th round has ended, then that player wins the game. The nuns win if we finish the 15th round and no novice has returned safely back to his room with both the key and the item they wanted. And the nuns wins if they tag as many novices as there are total players in the game. So when playing with 3 players, 2 novices and 1 nun, the nuns have to tag 3 novices. So 1 novice has to be tagged twice, or maybe they can even tag the same novice multiple times. That's how the nuns win. So in the second round, I would prefer to go over here and then maybe this way, heading towards the room I want. And this novice is gonna move out of the way of the nun, of course. So maybe it's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 over here. So the novice player is gonna write down 1, 2, 3, 4, number 67 as its location. But it is moving in an area that the nun can see. So once it leaves the room and it's out of sight, then you use the green side of the tokens and you place that where you've left the room. So not next to the nun, but where you've left the room. And now no nun can see you anymore, so you can remove your token back to your room. And the nuns don't know where you are anymore, only that they saw you the final time over here. And then after movement, all players roll the dice again. In this case 2, 1, 2, and I've run, so I've had a bonus, so I have a penalty of 1, so I get to 3, but that's not within hearing distance of the novices, so I don't have to place a noise token, although this token already is there, so it didn't really matter. And since both nuns have tokens in front of them, they can choose not to follow their patrol route, but move somewhere else. Let's say this token is not there, then this nun has to follow the blue route, going 4 or maybe 6 spaces towards their destination. If a novice gets caught, let's say this one is over here and here's the nun, ta-da, then the nuns score 1 point, closer to their victory, and the player has to place their token face down with the red side up. And as long as this novice is visible to nuns, it has to go back to her room in the shortest way possible and by just walking. So no running or sneaking, simply walking, which means 3 or 4 steps. So this player in the next turn would have to go at least 1, 2, 3. But once it is out of sight of the nuns, again, it can return its token to the room, place a last scene marker over there, and once the player is out of sight, it can go anywhere it wants again. But as long as you're tagged by a nun and they can see you, you have to move back to your room. And don't worry, if there are 2 nuns in a row and you are already tagged, then you can move past the nuns freely, because the other nuns assume you are going to your room, so no extra penalty needed. And basically that's how the game will continue. The novices need to end their movement exactly on the point of the key and the point of the location they need to go to in order to pick up the key or the item they want. But moving back and forth within 1 turn is allowed, so that shouldn't be a problem. Once a novice reaches the key it needs, you will write it down on the notepad and you have that key for the remainder of the game. If you get caught by nuns, you don't have to return the key. But if you get to the item you want and on the way back to your room you get caught, then you lose your item and you have to go back to the same location where you got the item first to pick it up again, and then again trying to get back to your room safe. So when there are no noise tokens next to the nuns, they have to follow their chosen path. Once they've reached the number they are going for, so in this case number 84, the nuns don't have exactly to end on this space. They can stop during movement to discard this card, and then they have to choose a new card, and you always have to pick a card that starts from the number you are at. So in this case this nun is gonna look for a card that starts with number 84 and then chooses which direction it wants to go. There are 2 exceptions and you can choose which one of the cards you want with that number. 2 exceptions: these 2 cards let you return in the same way you came on the same route back to the starting room, and they can do so during the turn and then continue on moving towards their next destination. Should a novice successfully pick up a key and an item they want and return safely to their room without getting caught, and we are within the 15 rounds, then that player wins the game. Should multiple novices reach their rooms safely in the same round and both having their key and their item, then from those players, the player who was caught the least will win the game. That's why you write down also on the notepad how many times you are caught, besides this caught tracker. And should that be a tie, then those players share the victory. So novices move secretly. They need to roll a die after each move to see if maybe the nuns hurt them. Then the nuns move, they follow their path unless they have heard, see or saw somebody. Also, in your turn, if a nun is standing over here and the novice is standing over here and it moves from here to here, you have to show to the nuns, because here you enter an area where the nun can see you. You have to say, look, I went over here, then I went over here, and now I'm poof, Houdini, I am gone. So the novice knows, okay, you went somewhere over there. And best to stay hidden during the entire game, of course. And then there are some additional difficulties to be added. We have these cards. There are 4 different cards, 2 each. You can decide to play with these cards and then give randomly each player 1 card at the start of the game, and this will give them a bonus they can use once during the game. This one is the most tactical one, I think. You can place a noise marker even if you didn't make any noise. So maybe if the nun is over here and you are staying over here, of course you're not visible, but just for the example, and you roll maybe a 1, then you don't have to place a noise token, but you can use this card. You're not playing the card yet, but you place a noise marker and then you place it next to the nun, in this case over here, of course, because hopefully then the nun will think, oh, there's someone over here, let's go check it out, so you are safe. Of course, the nun doesn't know you are there. And then when the noise token gets removed later during the turn of the nuns, you say, that was a false noise, haha, and you discard this card. So once per game. With this card you can do a +1 or a -1 on your noise roll. So the novice might want to do a -1 so they don't get hurt by the nuns, or the nuns want to do a +1 so they can hear 1 space further away. This gives you 1 free reroll after you've rolled the dice, but you have to take the second result. And this one lets you move 1 space extra on top of the card you've played. If you want to make it a little bit harder for the novices, like I said, in the first turn they get a double move, but you can decide, if you're all experienced, to not give them a head start, so just 1 movement action. Or if you want to make it harder to the nuns, let them move only 5 spaces at most instead of 6, or you can increase or decrease the amount of novices they need to catch, but that's all up to you. And that is how you play the second edition of Nuns on the Run. You can play it starting with 2 players, but I think for 1 player it's more easy to stay hidden from the nuns, maybe by taking some detours every now and then. I think this game is more fun with more players, because then also the nuns have a bigger chance of accidentally or by purpose running into novices they couldn't see at the start of their turn. I don't know if or when this game is going to be released outside of Europe, but it has the English rules in them, so I'm guessing it will be available worldwide anytime from now. So for 2 up to 8 players, that's the new Nuns on the Run. If you have any questions about this game, please feel free to ask them in the comments below. My name is David, thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.